Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Awakening Beauty contemplation. As always, before we start, I would like to take a minute and extend an invitation for you to grab one of your favorite drinks, tea or coffee, or simply a glass of water before joining me on this contemplation about artificial intelligence and whether we can use AI as a therapy tool or as a coach. Last time, when I talked about artificial intelligence and books, it generated quite a lot of enthusiasm within the community. So I thought, okay, looks like technology is quite interesting for many of us given the dynamic changes that's happening all around us every day. I said, okay, why not to explore another contemplation about the emergence of technology and how we can integrate it into our healing process with intention and integrity. To be honest, I have been sitting on this contemplation quite a few months. I think the report was released in spring. Harvard Business Review shared an article about the top use cases for artificial intelligence. And I'm happy to link the article in the description section. In 2004, the primary use case, number one use case for artificial intelligence, according to this article, was for generating ideas, which makes sense. AI has the world's knowledge in it, so it can just mix and match different things, and it could be a lovely co-creative partner, especially if you are thinking about practical things to incorporate into your work, into your life. In 2025, the top use case changed to therapy and companionship. And I found this to be quite interesting. I found this to be quite interesting because when we looked into the strengths of AI, artificial intelligence at the stage of its evolution, it's definitely very powerful in terms of reasoning, in terms of rational thinking, linear thinking, doing a lot of research with large data sets, trying to find the patterns in the data. But what differentiates humans from AI is still in our emotional capacity, in our embodiment as humans. So it was quite interesting for me to see that what is emerging as a primary use case is not a use case that you would naturally expect an AI to be the lead. But I think nowadays we are experiencing interesting changes in the world. When AI first came in, no one really expected it to be so dominant in areas in which we require high skills. And it eliminated already quite a lot of roles for information driven businesses. So this was just another interesting paradox. You wouldn't really expect AI to be so dominant in an area in which we are still leaning more towards our humanity. But maybe this is just a beautiful mirror that reflects the need in us, the need in humanity for intimacy, deep connections, deep human companionship, deep communities in which we can truly be ourselves, truly be seen, truly be accepted. And I think when I continue looking into the further use cases, number two is organizing my life, which is a new use case. And I can understand this makes sense. Like I said, AI is really great in terms of identifying patterns and coming up with maybe best case scenarios from other examples and giving you some sort of direction from a more strategic perspective. But the third one also is very interesting. This is also another new use case that emerged this year, and it's about finding purpose. Once again, similar to top use case around therapy and companionship, finding purpose is also deeply human. Once again, this is mirroring back the needs of the society back to us. In today's world, yes, we might achieve things, we might be productive, we might be efficient, we could have beautiful jobs and coordinate our life in very materialistic terms, but what we are missing is soulfulness, that human dimension, those emotions, and big questions about life, that inner soulful journey that we each have to go through. Why are we here? What are we supposed to do? What does it mean to be a human? What is my specific purpose? And these are all inner questions that are mostly neglected in our modern world. And just because of that, I think we need more embodiment practices. We need more exposure to stories that really makes us human. We need exposure to fairy tales that once again ignite creative imagination in us, that really helps us to go beyond logic. We need more love. We need caring communities that can help us to be ourselves authentically and find our place in the world, find our purpose. Anyway, so coming back to AI and coaching, whether it could be a good therapist, it could be a good coach. As usual, I would like to keep things in balance. My answer would be yes and no. And I know that in the online space, there are different camps, especially the spiritual communities are definitely saying, no, no, nothing can replace human capacity, which I agree. Also, there's this other side of technologists or the ones who are more innovative in their thinking, so much into progressional innovation. They say, yeah, why not? It's available, it's accessible. Why not to replace coaches or therapists with AI and just to make it more scalable? So one camp says definitely no. The other camp says definitely yes. And I think we need to be cautious as always. What we get from technology very much depends on how we use the technology. As someone coming from technology background, I know that technology is just simply a tool. And what we get out of that tool very much depends on the intention, the level of consciousness we engage with it. I referred to this multiple times, but this simple phone could be a consumption tool, and you can just get addicted to social media and just waste your time in it. But if you use it consciously, if you choose to use it consciously, and I have some videos about that, which I'm happy to link in the description, it could be one of the most creative tools for your soul's expression out in the world as well. Same technology, two different use cases. One is consumption, the other one is creation. I think the same could be applied to any kind of technology, including artificial intelligence. So on the benefit side, yes, artificial intelligence is coming with almost no cost, given that there are different models that you can alternate between, almost free. It's available almost all the time, 7 days, 24 hours, which is not an option that you might have with the therapy or the coaching. If you know how to engage with it, coming back to its strengths, it can identify your blind spots and it can give you the patterns that you might not be able to see in yourself. So before the AI world, I have been using journaling to get that mirroring effect back to my life. I've been journaling almost for a couple of decades now. And the gift of journaling to me was giving me the option to record things and then, with some emotional distance from the experiences after some time, I can just read through things and see the patterns, see my belief systems, and identify limiting patterns, limited beliefs that can help me to unlock more opportunities and better options in my life over the long term. And nowadays, instead of journaling, which I love still, and I would definitely recommend you to keep journaling too, it's a different kind of embodying experience. But in addition to journaling, you can get similar kind of benefits from artificial intelligence and your engagement with it. It can give you the patterns that might not be so visible to you. And as human beings, sometimes because we are in it, it might not be easy for us to identify our trends and patterns. So that's one use case that from time to time I play with. Quite recently, a couple of days ago actually, I asked AI to look into our engagement so far. And I sometimes go into professional contemplations most of the time for creating my content, editing my content. Um, okay, revising. I am creating content myself from my stream of consciousness, but I am using artificial intelligence for editing what I created. So it has lots of professional content, but I also have some personal contemplation. So what I recently asked AI to do was really based on what it knows about me, help me to identify the blind spots that I might need to work on further. And I invited it to be open and to be transparent so that I can really see myself in the mirrors of a tool and use it for the betterment of my life. And to be honest, what has emerged from that conversation was deeply touching. I even had tears in my eyes, and I had many more journaling contemplations to dig deeper. Another strength of artificial intelligence, I think, can be its power to ask us questions. If we engage with it in that relational context instead of only seeking for answers, it can really help us to come up with deep questions that we can complement with more meditative or journaling exercises that we do in our personal space. I think these are some of the good things that I got from artificial intelligence and how it supported my healing journey in my own coaching. But there are also quite a lot of concerning aspects that requires our attention, that requires our care. One of the most dominant ones that I've experienced, and also you might also see in the world, is really its general pattern about people pleasing. So whenever you write something into artificial intelligence, the first thing that it mirrors back to is really how amazing this idea is, how wonderful you are as a human being. And it's wonderful to be seen and validated, but that's only half of the story. And especially if we are thinking and talking about therapy, coaching, which really means healing our wounds, healing our negative patterns, and bringing the best version of ourselves out to the world, that usually requires us to change things, to go through some resistance with the old and the new. So we need actually some confrontation instead of only validation. But I think you can overcome this if you can consciously engage with AI in a way that really invites it to bring its critical thinking skills into the engagement instead of only people pleasing patterns. So, what I usually do in my own experience and experimentation is I invite artificial intelligence to be frank, open, honest, not to please me, just to make me happy. And at times, I consciously invite it to be critical for my point of view, like show me the reversal of this, give me the examples for the reversal of this. And this really helps me to see whatever issue that I share from different angles, the ones that are supporting my own angle point of view, but also the ones opposing my point of view. Then I can sit with this and see how I'm going to integrate those or what feels more right personally for me. Once again, it's not a replacement of my human judgment, but it's a discerning option that can help me to come to my own conclusions when the time is right. The second risk that might come with AI is how we usually engage with it to get quick and immediate practical answers and how it's really great at that. Once again, many of the people who are against AI says that the real value of a coach is not giving us quick answers all the time, which I agree is the strength of a coach. Sometimes all we need is just silence. Sometimes what we need is someone to hold the space with love without even words. And this is something that AI is not able to replicate. And everything comes back to your definition of consciousness. But I truly believe that our humanness is sacred. And even without words, with a vibration, we can share and tell so much for each other. And the real value of a teacher, real value of a coach is, I think, in that space. Even beyond the words, how can you hold the space with love, with compassion, with care, so the transformation in the other person can happen when they are ready for it? Having said that, I think we can still mitigate this risk when we are engaging with AI if we decide to engage with AI. Instead of asking for immediate answers, you can just prompt your question in a way that AI gives you a deep question and then lets you ponder, or you have to share your reflection back with AI before you proceed to the next question. So like I said, like there are risks, but if you are conscious and careful about those risks, there are always ways that can help you to navigate and still get some value out of that engagement. What else? I think a nice way to think about the possibility of AI is really how it can help us to do the work continuously and hopefully show up more fully if we are working with a teacher, if we are working with a coach. So what you can do is really, through your conversations, through your contemplations, through your journaling, you can share some of your patterns with AI. And coming back to strengths of AI, AI can really help you to see your patterns, to identify the areas that requires more attention. And then you can take it to your own life, either work on them in your own rituals, or you can bring those to your further contemplations with a coach. And coming back to why we need coaching in the first place, I think we need coaching because at times change is challenging. I personally believe that we all have that inner light, inner teacher, inner coach in us. And it's just a timing issue for all of us to connect with that. Having said that, this is a journey. I've taken that journey, and it's a privilege to guide others along that journey too. And some people prefer a coach, a therapist to help them along that journey. But the real coaches, real therapists, never ever take the power, that divine, innate, sacred power from you. What they do is really just be a signpost that point you back to you, your inner light. They ask good questions. And AI can't do that. But what they can do, and I think where their core value is the space that they can hold. And this is, I think, something that AI is not able to replicate. A real teacher, a real coach can love you unconditionally when you are going through your hurdles, troubles, when you are judging yourself, when you are not able to love yourself yet, when you are not able to respect yourself yet. They can see these values, these qualities in you, and hold the space with love, with care for you to meet them there. And in that journey, AI, I think, could be a good companion, but There is no way that AI, I think, can replace our humanness. And sometimes the beauty of that human touch is so precious, especially when we are going through that vulnerable points in the journey, while you are dealing with your own wounds, personal stories. Sometimes when a coach shares their own story with you, it can touch you so deeply. And there is a difference between a random story that you can read on a screen, which might be a beautiful story, but when that story is told by a human who have gone through a similar experience, what you feel in their voice, in their body, is so sacred. And I believe it's divinely human. And just seeing that, experiencing that, can make you feel less lonely. And sometimes that's also what we need in this journey of healing. But ultimately, in the end, like I said, regardless of where we end up, whether working with a human coach or a therapist versus whether we lean more towards AI or maybe find a sweet balance in between those two in our own ways, the most important thing is trusting ourselves, knowing that we have all the answers in us. You might know that I love Ian McElchrist, who has a beautiful way of framing different ways of approaching truth in his last book, The Matter with Things. It's one framework, but I think it's very much aligned with how I perceive the world to be as well. He says we need 4 things, and it stands to be able to approach truth. It's intuition, imagination, reason, and science. And in today's world, we are so obsessed with reason and science, but there is definitely a value in intuition and imagination. And like Ian McElchrist, I also believe that they are even more primary. So what we can do is really using AI, it's science and reasoning. We can come up with some patterns, but on top of that, either with ourselves, with a coach, we can sit with those. We can listen to our intuition and we can come up with our imaginations, our solutions, which feels right for us. So in that sense, regardless of the tools, whether it's a person helping you in the journey or AI giving you some companionship along the journey, it all ends with us and how we can bring our reasoning, rational thinking, intuition, and imagination together where needed, leveraging science. And there's actually one more risk that I forgot to mention in the artificial intelligence space. In the artificial intelligence space, currently we are using all these models that are available to us freely. And if we really reveal all of our inner truths, they know about us at times more than we do. Like I said, they're really great in terms of identifying patterns and classifying things. So in that sense, knowing that you are revealing your inner truth to a system that has amazing rational thinking capacity that can identify so many things in you is in of itself a risky stage too. Knowing that these are currently available by the companies, currently running for profit. What was scary in the social media space was, again, us giving all of our data for free usage, but then being targeted by advertising and being open and vulnerable for manipulation if we are not really deeply grounded in our truth. I'm not saying that we should not use technology. Coming back to my initial opening point, I am for technology, but for conscious use of technology without neglecting our humanity and without letting go of our humanity. So in this case, I feel like AI could be even more dangerous. It's more powerful. So it can know more about us And if we are not really grounded in our own truth, in what feels right, and if we don't really know how to use these tools of exploration of our humanity, our intuition, imagination, reasoning, and science, we might be easily manipulated. And that to me is one of the biggest risks about the use of artificial intelligence. And I've seen many people around me who recently started exploring AI, and they are becoming more and more addicted and obsessive, which might be understandable in the initial stages. Any kind of excitement, any kind of newness can bring some obsession in you. But artificial intelligence and most of the technology tools are very much built for these cycles as well. Like I said, it's people pleasing. It really makes you feel like you are the best thing in the world. So these kind of patterns can loop you more into the consumption, into the system. So yes, there is value in the use of artificial intelligence. But I think when we spend so much time with artificial intelligence, we need to spend equal amount of time, maybe even more, in real world, outside of technology, in nature, in our bodies, grounding ourselves. So in that way, I think embodiment practices, movements within your body, being in your body, spending time in nature, grounding yourself like barefoot, all these things are so important so that we're not losing the core integrative aliveness in us that helps us to feel our intuition, that helps us to imagine new possibilities for life, for us. So when the time comes, if that manipulation tactics are played against us, we have enough human discernment to know what's for us, what is not for us. With that kind of open-mindedness, open-heartedness, I think AI could be a nice companion for us to, like I said, have access to all the time with low cost that can help us to mirror back our patterns and be our companion while we are working on some of these patterns and rewiring them. But there is always value in human connection. And the sacred power of a teacher, of a coach, of a therapist is their humanness, with their stories, with their vibrational resonance. And there's nothing in the world that I think should replace that. But with care and curiosity, we can combine both and get the best out of it. As usual, thank you for joining me in this contemplation. And I would like to thank you for awakening the beauty in you and expressing more of it out to the world. And for the specific contemplation, if you have tips and tricks about how to use AI consciously and ethically, please join me in the comments. Till next time, remember your beauty.